Hello and welcome to the Unnamed Automotive Podcast. My name is Sami Assad, and with me, as always, is my good friend and fellow automotive journalist, Benjamin Hunting. Say hi to the people, Ben.
Greetings, human listeners.
Greetings to everyone. If this is the first time you're listening to our episode, thank you for trying something new. It's really nice that people will maybe continue to discover new episodes as we approach our 450th show. Or at least our episode listed 450. Do you think we should tell people what number this episode is off the top immediately so they don't think that they've listened to the same thing every day?
Absolutely not.
We haven't done it before. Why start now? I've been listening to other podcasts and they like to tell me what number episode it is.
Really?
Yeah. And I'm like, I don't know what that means.
I don't think I subscribe to any of these numerological podcasts that you do. You like the ones about numerology and skull shape, right? Those are your favorite podcasts?
Yeah, I mean, duh.
Phrenology, that's your big thing.
Skull shape? Yeah. I like it when you dumb it down to skull shape.
Yeah, sorry, I shouldn't have used phrenology. That's
that
not a word. Not a word you hear often in Hamilton.
Hey, we have too many waterfalls to care about skull shapes.
Okay.
That is the voice of my friend and fellow automotive journalist, Benjamin Hunting. You can find his work all over the internet. He will plug the publications that he writes for. But before he does that, he's going to tell you something really, really important about his Kickstarter. Ben, do it.
Yeah, so the Kickstarter is kind of stalled out this week. We're hitting that lull in the Kickstart process where we're stuck at around 75% funded.
But our listeners can change that. Yeah,
we have 13 days to go. And if you feel like pushing us over that finish line, you can go to deadaircomic.com. It's a comic book. There's 3 issues there. It's about a world where one day out of the year you can talk to the dead, and it's set in a alternative future 2011 where that technology exists, and a very much our past 1990s where a bunch of university radio DJs are super into music and super not into this strange force that's contacting them from the great beyond that they don't completely understand. So deadaircomic.com will take you to Kickstarter. I know a lot of you are already in on the book, and I thank you so much. There's been a gap of a couple of years between issues 2 and 3 because of some health issues on our creative team. So we're back in full force, and I would love it if you could help push the book over the funding edge. And shout out to a lot of the people who have already done so. And I've spoken to some of you individually, and I really appreciate it. Thank you.
About it, the 90s setting.
Yes.
How do you feel about that?
I mean, that's when I was myself a university radio DJ, so I feel pretty good about it. And I like a lot of 90s music. Mm-hmm. I know that it's very old now, like 40 years ago. So I try to stay.
Do you think they're focusing on in schools today, they're focusing on the history of the 90s because...
I don't think they teach anything about history in schools today. That's my thought. You're the one with a child. You would know way more than I do about what's being taught.
He doesn't go to school.
Maybe don't make that public.
Oh, why?
I think legally he has to go to school.
Not yet. He's too small.
It's not size based.
Yeah, there's one of those growth charts that you have to.
You must be this tall to go to school. I don't know.
And there's like 2 zones. One says with an adult, and one says without an adult.
I think all schools have adults. I've yet to go to an all child school, but I mean, I also don't live in Hamilton where there's a lot of waterfalls.
This 90s thing. What a setting. What a time period.
You were alive in the 90s.
I was, yeah. And
you remember you remember 90s stuff. I'm sorry.
What the 90s means about it. Are we going to spill the beans about the 90s and what we're doing with the 90s one day?
Absolutely not.
We're not going to tell them about our time machine?
Nope. In fact, I'm going to get in the time machine, go back in time, and convince you not to say that.
So this week we've got one really cool car to talk about, and then some fun news because me and Ben like making fun of the news and what's going on the.
And we have a cool listener question to address.
Question or comment?
I believe it's a bit of both.
Oh, okay. Let's do it. Ben, start us off.
So I am going to be talking about a vehicle that I'm really surprised by my impression. I did not go into this particular test drive with any expectations. In fact, you might say I was prepared to be underwhelmed. And then something happened. I was actually impressed by the vehicle. a class of vehicle that was similar to what I drove last week, where we talked about the Subaru Crosstrek. That was a hybrid model, a little bit higher end, at least in Canada, in terms of pricing. But this model is aimed at a more affordable side of the market, and that's the 2026 Volkswagen Taos.
Is that how you say that?
I asked you that, and you said yes.
Gotcha.
Taos, Taos. In my opinion, if you're naming a car, don't give it an ambiguous name. You know what I mean? Like, pick a name that is there's no way you could mess it up. Like, no one says Mustang, for example. Everyone knows how to pronounce Mustang. Everyone knows how to pronounce F-150. It's easy.
No, some people could call it the F-150.
Sure, you could, but no one in the history of the planet has ever done that. So
Sierra 1500.
We're still waiting for this to happen. Taos, on the other hand, it's like, someone might even pronounce it Daus, right? Like, it's still, there's too much ambiguity. Anyway, my one complaint about the vehicle, too much ambiguity.
I mean, Volkswagen is like that though, because you can go, do people call them VW or Volkswagen? What do you think is the preferred name for this German automaker?
I don't think they care, but I do remember like names like Tiguan. That's pretty. I mean, there's no one knows how to, especially since it's the combination of tiger and iguana, which is itself insane. Like, that's the kind of thing like Island of Dr. Moreau style experimentation where someone's like, I want to see what a tiger and an iguana would look like if I fused them together. Like, bionic cheetah is one thing, but tiger iguana, that's like flounder apple. That's like a flavor that you don't need.
I mean, they didn't when they said bionic cheetah, it was inspired by our idea of a bionic cheetah. They didn't just name the thing, these two words mashed together. And let's be clear, a family car does not instill the spirit of a tiger or an iguana.
What is the spirit of an iguana? I want to hear your take on that.
Well, they do a lot of head bobbing.
They do? Mm-hmm. They also fall out of trees when it's cold. Is that something? Is that anything?
Is that anything? Yeah, of course it's something. So if you've got an iguana, dear listener, and you want to tell us what whether or not we're off base with our iguana vibes, you just send us a message.
Shout out to an even more confusing name from Volkswagen, the Touareg.
It doesn't exist anymore.
No, but it existed for like 20 years.
Or does it exist in other markets? Maybe
you had to call it like the Touareg or it wasn't clear how to pronounce that combination.
Again, so this is where the Taos is making a comeback, right?
Probably the same person who named these vehicles.
All three? You think one guy is in charge of all of these
things? Or a lady. I'm not saying it's a man or a woman. I'm saying
one employee.
One employee at Volkswagen is out there making
there
things
pulling
hard.
their hair out, being like, how do I make this car? So should I call it the ID Buzz?
How do you say Taos in German?
Taos, I imagine. It's just like your name and my name in German. It's just
it's totally Sami. German's pronunciation always exactly the same. You're right.
They're great. They have great pronunciation. You know that.
This is a good vehicle for people who are looking for something affordable, because in the States it starts at under 30. It's about 28 grand.
That's not bad.
And it goes up to 38. So there's a $10,000 price stretch there. And you can just stay with the base model, or you can get one that is supposedly more luxurious. In Canada, it's harder to tell how much these cost, because if you go to the Volkswagen build site and you try to build a Taos, they show you like 5 trims in a jumbled order with no pricing. So it's very confusing. The first one that I'm shown is the Comfort Line 4Motion, which is actually like the 4th most expensive trim. Then it jumps to Trendline, which is the entry level, then Trendline 4Motion, and then it seems to get back in order. So I don't know if like the Comfort Line 4Motion is there because it's maybe the most popular, but this is a vehicle that starts at, and I had to click on it to tell, $33,642 in Canada, and that includes, as with the US number I gave, that includes all of the associated fees. So again, not a crazy expensive. I drove a SE, or so in the States it's called the SE Black. In Canada, the trim level is called the Comfort Line Black. And what that means is you get black rims, black mirrors. In the States, you get black door handles. There's some other black bits. It's basically an appearance package, kind of, for the Comfort Line model.
Mhm.
It's not super expensive. Like I said, $37,395 in Canada. In the US, you'll pay 33 grand for it.
Mhm.
It has those wheels are 19 inches. You get a panoramic sunroof. You have the larger digital cockpit, which is a gauge cluster. Not really that important, and I'll get into that later. And it has customizable interior lighting, but everything else is like very, very Taos. Like, there's only one motor with this vehicle. It is a scroll to find my data. Turbocharged 4-cylinder. It's 1.5 liters, and it's 174 horsepower and 184 pound-feet of torque. It comes with an 8-speed automatic transmission, and you can get it with either, as I mentioned, 4-wheel drive or front-wheel drive.
Okay.
It's most helpful to think of this vehicle, Sammy, as a Golf that's been transformed into a crossover.
Yeah, I was going to ask you specifically about the Golf-sized hole in everyone's heart, really, in North America. That there is no Golf here.
There's a GTI though,
and a Golf R.
Yeah,
but
so this is bigger. I mean, when I say Golf-like, if you look at it from the front, it really looks like a Golf wagon. Like, it really does. It has the lighting, the fascia. It's very similar to the Golf. From the sides, though, it looks like a smaller Atlas, which I think is kind of cool. Yeah, mm-hmm. I think it's cool. I think it's a good look for it. And when I also say smaller, this is still pretty big inside. I want to just draw attention to the fact that I had to pick up a bumper for my Jeep, my Grand Wagoneer.
I didn't hear the story. Hold on. I didn't hear the story.
Yeah, I sent you pictures of me doing it and no response. And then I sent
you the picture. That was what was happening?
I sent you the picture again and no response again. And then I just gave up because I figured,
You love to send me pictures. I'm always concerned about this. What he does is he sends me pictures, no comments, okay? Zero comments.
My face and a bumper. Literally, it's like a bumper.
My fear is that we're such good friends, he expects me to just know what is happening and I don't think he wants me to ask follow-up questions. So I'm always afraid that
why not just ask if you don't understand?
Because then you're going to be like, Sammy doesn't listen or pay attention or care about anything that I love.
I said it to you twice. It's clear you weren't paying attention.
Okay. So you put this bumper in.
This bumper is like 6 feet long, pretty much. Mm-hmm. And I was like, is it going to fit in the Taos? I popped the trunk, I wrapped it up in a blanket, and it does fit, except I had to like run it between the front seats. So the whole ride home, it was like sitting directly beside my head, which is super dangerous, I guess. And I couldn't really turn my head to the right very quickly, or I would like bang my head on this exposed metal bumper. But did
slowly
fit.
You could.
Yeah, slowly I could catch it by surprise,
Okay.
But just to say, it's 60.2 cubic feet of cargo space. It's a little bit less in the all-wheel drive model I had. So if you get front-wheel drive, you get a bit more than 60 cubes. I think it's like 5 additional cubic feet. There's something like 23 cubic feet behind the back seat, which is pretty good. Another interesting thing, that's a very competitive number for a subcompact SUV. Just want to put that out there.
Yeah.
Another interesting thing about the Taos, that I have never seen on an SUV in this class, or very many other SUVs to begin with, there are steps built into the back bumper so you can reach up to the roof.
Okay. Yeah.
Like the bumper steps on the Silverado?
In the bumper on the exterior or in the
on the trunk? Exterior, built into it.
That's pretty impressive. Okay.
Yeah, and I have size 10 feet and they fit in no problem.
You have size 10s? I have size 10. Well, 10 and a half sometimes.
Yeah, 10 and a half. Yeah.
We can share shoes.
I've been borrowing your shoes for years. Ask your wife. She's been mailing them to me. Sammy, you have a shoe problem.
I know. I've had it for a long time.
Sammy just renovated his basement so he could have more room for shoe storage.
And
a dojo to train warriors?
Yeah, that's right. I will make a dojo out of it. I have everything that I need. I have the knowledge and the confidence.
And all the shoes.
And the shoes. Yeah, not a lot of shoes in dojos, but yeah.
Well, you leave the shoes at the door.
So that's where I get all my shoes, from other people's door.
They call you the dojo rat.
I know that Subaru likes to put steps on the inside of the second or the rear seats. Sorry, how do you describe that?
I don't know because I've owned multiple
sill,
Subarus.
the door sill area, generally they put some seats, at least in the newer ones, for
I
you to
haven't
access
noticed-
the roof rack.
Haven't noticed that.
But I think I like the idea. Sorry, I'm eating something now. I'm very professional.
You're getting something now? What does that mean?
I'm eating something right now.
Why are you eating on mic?
I'm anxious. I feel like that character in those movies where they eat a lot.
Why can't you just be like the guy in the Langoliers who tears the paper?
Yeah, well, do you think that won't? You think that'll be okay on audio?
I think it's a less biological sound.
Okay.
So I like the way the Taos looks.
I want to talk to you about this loading the roof thing. You like to step on the bumper. You like to load it from the back.
Well, if I don't have to open a door to access the roof, that's a bonus. Because what if it's raining?
Yeah, you'd be outside putting something on the roof anyway.
I'm outside regardless, but that way the interior doesn't get wet.
I guess so.
Also, what if I've loaded a child in there?
In the car? And they're just getting soaked in the rain?
That's not good. Children don't know how to get out of the rain.
What children are you loading in the car?
Doesn't matter. What matters is I need to get to the roof. So I think it looks good on the outside. I think the cargo area is super practical and useful for a vehicle of its size. The interior itself, I am less sold on. It is one of two things about this vehicle that I think holds it back. So I'll start in on, there's nothing wrong with it, but it really feels old school. It's just a lot of black, a lot of plastic. There's some light colored stitching, and the seats attempt to have some detail. But it really feels like I'm in an older Volkswagen when I'm in this car. And anyone who's been in an older Volkswagen will instantly know what I'm talking about. And I mean, like, by older, I just mean from the last 5 years or so. Just, there's not a lot going on there. It's simple. And again, this is more of a preference thing. It's not exactly a problem. But when you combine it with the other thing that I think holds this back, the infotainment system for the Volkswagen, again, all versions come with this 8-inch screen, which is fine, I guess, but it's in like a really large frame that kind of like drives home the fact that the screen itself is not that big.
By frame, you mean like it has a really thick bezel?
Yeah, exactly.
Okay.
And then there are two different, this digital cockpit thing. So there's two different sizes. There's a 8-inch one that matches the size of this infotainment screen. And then mine had a 10.25-inch one. It's called Digital Cockpit Pro. But both the graphics for the infotainment system and the gauge cluster, pretty much monochromatic. The infotainment uses like a tile thing where you tap the tiles and they flip over and you go through the menus that way. It feels old school as well. No matter where you touch the screen, it makes a noise. So it's like
it goes beep boop or
goes
like
doom.
creaks.
No, it makes like a Mario collecting coins noise. And
that's fun.
But it doesn't matter what you're touching. So it's not like, you touch something and you get audio feedback because you've hit the menu. This, you could touch anywhere on the screen and it's going to give you that sound. That's not helpful and not useful. It feels like a previous generation technology, and the gauge cluster doesn't really have all that many cool things it can show you. It's got 4 different configurations for what you can see. None of them are particularly impressive. It's all functional, and I do like the way that the buttons on the steering wheel work. They are not complicated, super straightforward, but there's no wow factor in this car, and I don't really care about that. I'm pretty much in the I want to drive the car thing, but a lot of customers are probably looking for something that will match. Like if you're we talked about the Nissan Kicks recently this year, or maybe it was late last year. And the Kicks has a really nice interior just in terms of it's interesting to look at.
It's cheap, but it has it uses all the cheap fabrics really effectively at making it seem interesting, like youthful and young and interesting. Like
it has a personality.
Yeah, that's right.
Yeah, and this vehicle does not. And the infotainment system's on pretty much every other vehicle, I would say, except the Trax that I drove recently, which is again a very straightforward system, although the colors are more vibrant. The Volkswagen is behind that. It's not really on that wave, so that might be disappointing.
I'm trying to think of all Volkswagens with interesting interiors, and the list is the things that stand out are really limited. It's just basically the GTI with those tartan seats, right?
It is a conservative design approach for
Mm-hmm.
Volkswagen interiors. It's definitely, well, you were in the Tiguan recently, weren't you? Not
No,
the Tiguan,
Atlas.
the Atlas.
Yeah.
What was that interior like?
A little bit more premium for sure, but nothing special.
Yeah.
There was a
Yes.
lot of like these like capacitive touch buttons.
Oof.
In fact, the whole interior was like all touch screen and stuff.
So the Taos has a climate control setup underneath the infotainment screen. Actually, it's well underneath it. It's like at the bottom of at the top of the console.
Integrated into the black piano black plastic that you need to.
Yeah, but it's
fiddle
not.
with?
It's not super. I guess it is capacitive touch, but like for most functions, it was pretty easy. I didn't really have any issues with it there.
Does it illuminate at night?
It does. Yeah, they've learned their lesson. I know.
That's
Big
a
step
big
forward
upgrade.
for Volkswagen. Yeah. So those are the two things that I'm iffy on with this car. Everything else, especially how it drives, is pretty damn good.
Okay.
It has this thing called travel assist. It's like
Travel assist.
it's their safety system, their driver's aid system. So
Oh,
there's
okay,
like
great.
adaptive cruise
I
control.
like that. Actually, I like this name. I like travel assist for the suite of.
Well, the suite is called IQ.drive, so you're not going to like that. Travel
Well, I
assist
mean,
is part of that.
If you can go through all of the names of these things, there's Toyota Safety Sense. There's like what's the other one called? Pro Pilot Assist or Pro Pilot. What are all the other names of them now?
Blue Cruise.
Blue Cruise is more like the hands-free stuff, and same with like what is like I can't go.
It doesn't matter. Let's get back to the Volkswagen.
But most of them usually like emphasize these are safety gear, safety equipment. But I like it when they name it after what the real use. Like, there's nothing safe about using adaptive cruise control and like turning off half your brain. Sometimes.
I don't think a lawyer would agree with you, but so travel assist is like semi-automated cruise control system. It'll use the lane centering and the adaptive cruise to keep the vehicle on track. Two things I didn't really like about it. It does work, but the travel assist rides the center line so closely that when traffic would pass me, I was super uncomfortable, and I would try to like.
Sorry, you said the center line. Which line?
Yeah. So if you're in, what do you mean? Which one? It's the one in the center. What are you saying? If you're on a divided highway, there's two lines. You know,
okay.
It's the one to your left, and you're just way too close to it.
That center line. Okay, got you.
I was not comfortable with it at all.
Always on hugging the sort of like left side.
Yeah.
Even if you were in a 2-lane.
No, that's why I said center line.
Okay.
So like the center line of a divided highway, if you're in a 2-lane road, or a 2-lane traveling in the same direction. So traffic would pass you and it was way too close. The other thing that's a little weird about travel assist is it deactivates if you hit your turn signal, which makes sense because you don't want to be fighting the steering wheel. But if you're in a corner, when you hit your turn signal, the system deactivates and immediately pulls you to the outside of the corner.
Ooh.
Like you have to be prepared for that because the wheel is not going to keep like going in the direction of the turn. So that's a little bit, you should be paying attention at all times anyway. And this is going to make sure that you pay attention. Right. The horsepower and torque, I mentioned them before, 174 and 184. That's not a lot, but this is not a big vehicle. And
184 is actually pretty good, though, I think.
Yeah, for a small turbo engine, for sure. Yeah. The upshot, the good news of all of that modest horsepower, I was able to beat the factory fuel mileage in combined driving. I got 30 miles per gallon on my test loop. I think that's like 7.8 liters per 100 kilometers, something like that.
That's not bad, yeah.
The vehicle's only rated for 28 combined for all-wheel drive models. So I didn't do anything special either. I was driving at a fair bit, and I was impressed with that. In fact, it's one of the most frugal vehicles I've driven over the course of this recent surge in fuel prices. Mm-hmm. I would say the fuel mileage was like, within 10, 15% of that Crosstrek hybrid I had last week, which is pretty good. Or the Crosstrek is bad, like either way.
I think we said that the Crosstrek's not the most fuel efficient there. But we should actually start thinking about how. I think you're very good at exceeding the posted limit. Not limits. What am I talking about? Mileage estimates. I think
yes and no.
You're very good. I feel like I'm always over it.
On the tracks, I wasn't. On the tracks, I was actually a bit below.
Okay.
So it doesn't always turn in my favor. I think weather is really dependent. I think temperature makes a much bigger difference than we're often talking about.
And for me, the drive, it's always just, I have to drive through the city every single day.
Well, I do both. I have a loop. I have a 75-mile test loop that includes city, highway, and 2-lane roads. Mm-hmm. So that's whenever I talk about fuel mileage, it's always based on that loop.
On that loop. Okay.
Yeah. This is a small turbo 4, so it's still going to do the things that all small turbo 4s do. If you hammer the throttle, it's going to sound like a vacuum. It's like a shop vac. It's going wild. But because there's no CVT, it's a lot less annoying. Like, you don't peg the revs all the time when you hit the gas. Mm. And if you're hammering it hard, it can take a while to climb down from redline if you get all the way up there. But other than that, there's no annoyances at the motor. Like, under regular driving, it's pretty quiet and tame. Sometimes it's not super responsive to pedal inputs when you're cruising at low speeds. Like, you'll tap the gas and there'll be a noticeable hesitation before you get underway. And it doesn't interrupt your flow of driving, but it does remind you that you're not driving a performance vehicle. And this happens, it has an S mode for the transmission, a sport driving mode. It doesn't really do a lot. Like, it might sharpen things a tiny bit, but it's really about a steady driving experience rather than an exciting driving experience. Okay. And I never really had the chance to use all-wheel drive. Like, it was wet. I have a dirt road, but I never needed the extra traction. So I can't tell how good it is in inclement weather, but it felt stable at all times. More to the point, though, the all-wheel drive model gets a more sophisticated rear suspension. It gets a multi-link setup versus a torsion bar for the front-wheel drive. I have not driven a front-wheel drive Taos. This is actually the first time I've driven the Taos. I was super impressed by how comfortable it was. It is very, very common composed vehicle. Even over spring ruts and potholes, I barely noticed them. And this is an important thing to talk about, because so many times these cheaper or subcompact, they're considered subcompact crossovers, they cheap out a little bit on the suspension or the tuning of the suspension and will deliver a really either like stiff or wobbly or just like uncomposed ride. Like they don't feel fully baked sometimes, right? Yeah, I agree. And so to have something like this, sorry to cut you off, but to have something like this feel more like they really spent time ironing out the suspension, it's kind of rare for what's known as an affordable car, or a relatively affordable car. It's definitely rare, and I think it's to be commended. So you've mentioned your experiences with the Crosstrack, which I think is it used to be really easy for me to recommend a Crosstrack for people shopping for a small crossover, because it had a lot of interior space and it was a decent price, and I think it was okay on gas. You just had to suffer with, at the time, a really dull engine and dull styling. But now I think that the entire class of crossovers has of subcompact crossovers have really improved over the years. I think the Kona is one of the top choices. I think from what you're telling me, the Taos is really up there in terms of overall like sort of competency. Yeah, I mean, I would still recommend a Crosstrack. I don't have any qualms about doing that. Okay. I think the Taos better than an HRV, right? Oh yeah, everything's better than HRV. But this is really, we've talked about how much we like the Trax and the Buick version of the Trax, but if you're looking for all-wheel drive, you have to go for something like a Trailblazer from Chevrolet, which is not as great. What is the name? Encore GX? Encore GX for Buick, yeah, which I'm actually going to be driving in a couple of weeks. So we're talking about that on the show. I haven't driven it in a very long time. But I think, a Crosstrek, a Nissan Kicks, those are vehicles I would recommend, and the Taos as well. I'm hesitant because of, reliability concerns with Volkswagen over the longer term. Okay. But this is as simple as it gets, I think, from Volkswagen, which is kind of where you want to go if you're worried about complexity and reliability. And I just had a good time with the vehicle. It felt very honest. Interesting. And I think it's quite handsome. Mine was finished in cornflower blue. It had a black roof. You pay $500 more for that in Canada. It's probably worth it. I mean, it's an actual color, and it comes out nice, shoots well for photographs and everything. And okay, I think that, it's surprising what an entry-level vehicle gets you these days. Also surprising that an entry-level vehicle in Canada costs you $33,000,
yeah.
and in the States it's $28,000. I mean, a Trax is going to be a lot less expensive than a Taos in the US, I believe, but it won't be that much less expensive than a Taos in Canada. So it really narrows the gap. I think you're looking at a 10% price difference. I think that the Trax starts around 30,000 now. So for 3,000 more, you can get a Taos in Canada, and that, that might be worth making the jump if you're not sold on the interior of the Trax, if you're not sold on the size of the Trax, which I think is still pretty good, but the Taos is a little bit bigger inside, and the styling, of course, on the outside.
I also think it's easy for the automakers to, and I said that we had that criticism of like these subcompact crossovers feeling kind of like unfinished, or like sometimes it feels like they're just a push for the automaker. For example, the Corolla Cross, totally, really, like, it's an okay car.
I could never recommend it.
But yeah, I can't recommend it. And to me, there's something about the car that is basically Toyota saying, we kind of don't want you to buy this. We'd rather you spend more money and just get the RAV4. And I think a lot of automakers just kind of phone it in with this entry-level subcompact because they want you to spend more money and get the bigger product.
I mean, some do.
For an automaker, yes,
Toyota and Ford, I think, are the most obvious examples. With the EcoSport.
Is the EcoSport still on sale? I think we talked about this.
I don't know, but it is definitely
it should be illegal. It should be illegal to sell the EcoSport.
The most cynical like subcompact that they put out there. And it's crazy because GM has like a couple really good subcompacts. Yeah. Ford was just like, nah, we're not even going to bother.
Get an Escape or get out. Like, and I think it's really great. It's really noticeable when an automaker has actually said, no, we're going to actually have customers who want this car. And if they want to upgrade later on, we're going to set a good example from the entry-level product. The Taos sounds like something like this. It does sound a lot like what the Golf was, a very competent, grown-up kind of affordable car. And I think that is a really great way of delivering a car. I think it's a great approach.
Another thing to excuse me. Another thing to think about when looking at subcompacts is they're not always aimed at entry-level buyers. A surprising number of retirees and empty nesters end up buying these vehicles.
Good point, yes.
Back when Scion was a thing, they were trying to target the youth market, and they thought that by offering a more than one subcompact vehicle, they would be able to scoop that up. But what really ended up happening was it was like a lot of 55 and plus people who were buying Scions because they liked the form factor. They didn't have kids to carry around anymore. Fuel economy was good, that kind of thing. It just fit their lifestyle. And I think something like a Taos would be very appealing for that generation as well.
Here's another one. I didn't realize this is still on sale. 2026 Mitsubishi Outlander Sport, or known as the RVR in Canada. That's one of those cars that are like, please don't.
You're not a fan. You're not a fan of that Mitsubishi.
Anything else you want to talk about when it comes to subcompact crossovers or the Volkswagen Taos?
I think I'm good.
Do you think it needed more power?
No, it was fine. It was completely fine. I had a situation where I had to pass an 18-wheeler and another car on the 2-lane country roads near my place because the truck was having trouble going up hills, and there's numerous hills here. So I did I planned out my run. I did a big run and I passed it. It was fine. I had enough time to do it. And then when I got to, this is what always happens with people in my area. There's a lot of people who don't pay attention to speed limits, and they just drive like a steady 70 kilometers an hour, regardless of whether it's a 90 zone or a 50 zone. And so I got to further down the road, I get to a 50 zone, which is a residential area. And I slow down to 50. And this 18-wheeler comes right up on my bumper and honks at me 3 times because I'm now going the speed limit.
Wild.
And then I just zoomed off again. Like once the zone ended, it goes back up to 90. And I'm like, I'm not going to stick around for this, but it's just like, come on, man. You don't need to do that.
Now, I don't have I mentioned last week that I spent the week kind of getting my personal cars fit for the season. They're still not, one of them is still not really doing so hot. My FRS needs quite a bit of work. It needs new tires. It needs potentially a clutch job. So I'm
better than my Datsun, which is currently out with a wiring issue, aka the entire wiring harness might be dead.
Yeah, this is not the Misery Olympics, Ben. Come on now.
No, it is, and I get the gold medal. But continue.
Yeah, well done. I get the bronze. I don't even know I don't know who gets silver these days.
You get the gold in high dive, and I think that's pretty good.
But I did notice there's quite a bit of interesting news to talk about this week. I want to start with some stuff on Honda. You mentioned this to me. Honda is taking a loss for the first time in what seems like a long time.
First time ever, I believe.
Ever. That's the North American arm of Honda, or Honda
as a company.
Holy moly.
For the first time in 70 years, it is posting a net loss of $2.6 billion US.
And
first ever annual loss.
That sounds reasonable because they spent a lot of money in developing new electric vehicles and tooling a plant to make them, and then canceled them. All of them. Every single EV that they were going to make.
They say its losses associated to its EV operations total $16 billion US. So
that's a lot of money.
Turns out that when you develop a car and then don't sell that car, that's a bad idea.
Yes. In all of the news you will hear today about Honda will be about them trying to spin all of this into their future, which is that they're going to develop more hybrid powertrains. Now, Honda already offers some hybrid powertrains, I think in their Civic and the CR-V and the Prelude, this new thing, right? Yeah. And that means that there's one area where there are no Honda hybrids, and that's in their bigger vehicles. Think about the Pilot and the Passport and the Ridgeline or the minivan Odyssey. Those all lack the hybrid powertrain that are offered on other vehicles in the market. There are hybrid, what's the name of the hybrid Highlander? I'm pretty sure there's a hybrid version of the Tacoma. There's a hybrid minivan, at least one, in both the Carnival and the Toyota Sienna. And I said Passport. I'm certain there's hybrid versions of like mid-size, like let's say the Crown Signia. That's a hybrid too.
Yeah, but the Crown Signia is like a weirdo outlier.
It's like its second brand almost, right? Honda is apparently developing a V6 hybrid to compete with some of these bigger vehicles that feature
Sami, you forget that Honda already has a V6 hybrid.
Tell me more.
It's in a little vehicle that starts with N and ends with X.
The NSX? Is the NSX still on sale? It's not.
No, but they still have the plans for that drivetrain somewhere, I'm sure.
Yeah, just get that just dust this old thing. It was also in the MDX, if I remember correctly,
no,
right?
It was not in the MDX. It was in the RLX, a vehicle that no one ever talks about. That was the other application for the NSX drivetrain. The
MDX, I thought it was also in the MDX. The MDX did have a hybrid.
It had a hybrid, but it was not related to the NSX.
This is insane to me that they have had a hybrid powertrain in the past. Apparently two. In the NSX and the RLX. I guess obviously these are premium vehicles, so maybe they were not applicable to.
They sold like 300 RLXs over 4 years. Like honestly, have you ever seen one in the real world?
No. Only the press ones that we used to borrow.
The RLX is the Acura version of the Hornet. Like that is the shout out to all of our Hornet spotters out there. But if you see an RLX, that's like Hornet times 10. That's just
that is true.
A non-existent vehicle.
I forgot to mention there's also a hybrid in the Accord, but I'm talking specifically the fact that they have taken so long to get their big vehicles to get. How long has the Pilot really needed a hybrid powertrain?
I don't know.
Since the last generation. Like the last generation needed it.
But there are so many cars in its class that don't have a hybrid drivetrain. Like
are there?
Volkswagen doesn't have one. Ford doesn't have one.
Ford did have a hybrid. Didn't they have a hybrid Explorer?
Nope, never.
Never?
No, they had a hybrid version of the Lincoln, the Aviator, but there was, as far as I know, unless there was a very brief, they had a Turbo 4 version of the Explorer. I don't think they ever put a hybrid drivetrain in it.
I'm almost certain there's a Ford Explorer.
I don't think you're right, but also Chevrolet, GMC, they never did it either. Like it's in that zone of like vehicles that haven't really crossed over. Toyota was kind of a pioneer there, I think.
They have a plug-in hybrid, I believe, Explorer. So that's a whole different story.
That would have been the Aviator drivetrain.
Yes. this got me and you think. So first of all, I personally think that Honda needs to deliver a hybrid powertrain. You're saying otherwise?
I'm saying I don't think it's necessary, but I think they need to do something because they don't really have like their electrification is way behind everyone else. I mean, I say that Chevrolet doesn't have a hybrid SUV, but they do have like a ton of electric vehicles, you know, so
a ton.
So like
I look at Cadillac sometimes when I'm doing research. Cadillac has so many EVs.
Well, their plan was to go full EV as a brand. And so who knows what's going to happen with that. But that was the initial idea.
Well, the only thing that's holding them back is they have the regular Escalade. For some reason, they still have the XT.
Well, the only thing that's holding them back is every single policy being enacted in their home country. Like, it's really what's hurting them.
So the thing is, we were thinking about this, and it made me think about the Toyota Highlander. Toyota Highlander has had a hybrid powertrain for a really long time. And they announced that the 2027 Toyota Highlander will come as an EV. And as far as I can tell, only as an EV. That's a huge shift, in my opinion. What do you think of that?
Well, because of this huge shift, I was like, well, what they're going to do is if people don't end up buying the Highlander, they'll just push them into the Grand Highlander, which is already a weird situation where you have these two vehicles that are very, very, very similar. And so we decided to take a look at pricing on the Highlander and the Grand Highlander.
In my head, I was like, oh, that's so capitalist to be like, oh, you don't like this? Just spend more on the one that will get you what you could have had last year.
So if you want to buy a Highlander right now, the cheapest Highlander you can buy is $45,870. Okay. If you want to buy the larger Grand Highlander, the cheapest one you could buy is $41,860, which is $4,000 less than the vehicle that theoretically is underneath it on the price scale. Now, this doesn't make any sense at all.
Yeah, this required a double take from both of us, firing up our browsers and being like, what are they doing, really?
So it turns out it's because you can get front-wheel drive versions of the Grand Highlander and you can't get front-wheel drive versions of the regular Highlander. They're all-wheel drive. But even then, adding all-wheel drive to a Grand Highlander is still only like $1,600. Yeah. So I think that maybe, you know, if you look at the price gap for Grand Highlander, there's LE and XLE. The XLE is $45,000, which is still $700 less than a Highlander, but much closer, right? So it seems like Grand Highlander has this loss leader LE model that you're not going to find elsewhere.
Well, it'd be interesting if you even see these on the lot somewhere, but that's their game plan, right? They're going, just like you said, that means they're going to, do you think they're going to make I mean, they have to. The regular Highlander EV will.
If you keep going through Grand Highlander, they're all like $1,000 less than the equivalent Highlander trim. So I don't know what's
That's wild.
It's so weird.
That's so weird.
So yeah, they're probably just gonna push people into Grand Highlander and hope people buy regular Highlander and not really think too hard about it, I guess.
So we're the only ones who are overthinking it.
I think so.
That's so funny. Anyways, I mean, I looked at this and it blew my mind. I couldn't believe that such an approach. A Grand product is typically a more expensive. I mean, that would be like Grand Cherokee. Imagine the Cherokee was cheaper than the Grand Cherokee.
Or the Wagoneer existed.
The Grand Cherokee was cheaper. Yes.
The Wagoneer still existed and it was cheaper than the Grand Wagoneer.
Anyways, that's all I found this week, I think. I don't know if there's any other news you want to talk about. That
I have a story that was sent in by Justin, longtime listener. Always great to hear from them. About, I'm not going to go into too much detail because I'm not sure if this was for us to share on the air or just for our amusement. Trust me, it was very amusing. But it was related to when Sami was talking about going to monster trucks with his son. Justin had a similar, well, not a similar situation, but like a similar motorsports related situation where he took his son to the Bathurst 12-hour GT3 race, which is pretty amazing.
That's amazing.
And they were at this event. There's the top of a mountain where they were viewing from. So Bathurst is like lots of elevation changes, pretty cool track, pretty cool circuit, I guess I should say. His son was quite young at the time, around 6 years old, and he'd fallen asleep waiting for things to start. And a kangaroo jumped out of some trees on the edge of the track because I guess, and I want to follow this up with my own animal experiences after. But the marshals at the track, they were trying to scare wildlife so that it wouldn't jump across the track while there were cars on it. So they were making big noises and whatnot, trying to get that to happen, driving around on bikes, trying to get these kangaroos out of the danger zones. And so they spooked what was nearby to the point where it before Justin could take really full stock of the situation, it had bounded across and over a fence and jumped over his sleeping son.
Brilliant.
While he didn't wake up, but like it's scary because a kangaroo is a large creature, that weighs a lot. Like they are heavy, and they probably would be pissed off if they had to run over a human and stumble and whatnot. So that's to me that's a crazy story, and I'm glad nothing happened to your son, Justin. Like that would have been, I mean, it's the kind of thing, that like you can look back on and say like, wow, that was a nutty experience, and like it's a good story, and thankfully that's all that happened. But I've been on racetracks myself where there have been animal interactions, like mostly it's groundhogs that run across the track, because they're hard to spot. They have holes, they pop out of the hole and then they're gone. But my favorite animal interaction is a track in New Hampshire in a place called Tamworth called Club Motorsports. And I've been there a number of times for both work and with my own vehicle. And when I was there for work, there was a couple of photos. It's a track that was built. They bought a ski hill and they built the track into the ski hill. So it goes up a mountain. And when I say mountain, when you're at the top of the track, you can see for, I don't know, 30 miles, 40 miles, maybe more than that. It's pretty cool. But the reason I bring this up is because there's multiple viewing points, and kind of like at Bathurst, you can be at the top of the mountain and look down on the track, and it's great for taking photos. But when we were being taken there by marshals, they told us to be careful of this bear family that lives there, because there's a bear that like had a cub, and it would go up to the edge of the I guess guardrail for the track at the top. There's a big like a hairpin corner, and the cub and the bear would lean on the guardrail and watch the cars go by. And I know several people who encountered the bear while driving. They could see it while they were driving, and you had to really be on your toes as a photographer to not put yourself in the bear's path while you were shooting an event. Have you ever had an encounter with an animal like that, Sammy? Like a kangaroo jumping over you, or like
no
a moose,
kangaroos.
maybe a moose?
No moose, no. No, nothing like that at all. I'm sorry, I don't have any of those stories.
So you're saying Hamilton is just waterfalls and no wildlife?
I've had birds and like squirrels and rabbits duck out in front of my car all the time. And the worst is, I think this is what it was. I was doing a video of a Prius. I can't remember if it was the plug-in hybrid or the regular version of the Prius. And I remember, talking on camera about, oh, it's so great for the environment, so you got this great fuel efficiency. And I just hear this thump and watch a little rabbit fall over. And I'm like, oh, this horrible. Is the worst. This is the worst.
So much.
I will say though, exactly. That's what I was thinking. I was thinking in 490 plus episodes, or around 490 episodes of this podcast, we've only had one animal attack while recording. And it was a really weird one. A bird flew into Ben's window while we were recording.
I don't even want to talk about it.
Startled him to the point of stopping our recording and then making sure the bird was okay.
I had to go out and rescue the bird, and the bird was stunned but was fine and eventually flew off. And then I saw the bird again the next day. So doing all right.
It was coming to look at you and be like, I don't remember when you put this window in.
Yeah, it was coming to get me.
I've gotten also a lot of several comments about the Monster Jam story that I told about my son, and many people are very eager to talk about monster trucks because it's one of these amazing things, because these trucks are really, really, the design and engineering behind these trucks is insane. Apparently,
no one is left
multiple. Sorry, go ahead.
I was going to say, no one is left unaffected by an encounter with a monster truck.
Yeah. So I think that's the point, is like, for an entertaining thing or an entertainment thing to be able to appeal to both the young and old is an impressive feat. And I will probably be revisiting the Monster Jam story again when they come back into town, and maybe do something a little bit more feature story related to that.
Sammy, if people want to tell us their own Monster Jam stories, or Roo stories, or Bathurst stories, or rabbit stories, hopefully not, how can they do that?
they can head on over to our website, unnamedautomotivepodcast.com. When you get there, there's a little contact form. You fill it out, and that lands in our inbox. That's what Justin did. If you want to avoid the hassle of that and just want to email us, just send an email to benjamin@benjaminhunting.com. Or you can reach out to us on social media. Both Ben and I are relatively active on Instagram. Ben more than me, but if you send me a message, I'll get it. You can find Ben at Hunting Benjamin and myself at Sami_hi, like you're laughing.
What are you going to be talking about? Oh, wow.
Uh-oh.
You go first.
What are you driving next week?
I'm going to be talking about the Volkswagen Jetta Sport. Two back-to-back Volkswagens. I haven't done that in a long time.
Very cool. I'm not sure actually. I think I'm still on my self-proclaimed
No, you got to get behind the wheel of something. We can't expect Honda to lose $2.6 billion every week.
I'll find you news. Don't worry. Thank you everyone for listening. I'll talk to you next week. Bye-bye.
Bye.